بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الغافرين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Continuing with the fiqh, but before that, just to remind that the last 15 minutes or so, we will have the Q&A, and here is the link to put your question on the website. So, last time we were speaking about wudu. Just to go over the wudu fast. Wudu, as Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran, O you who believe, if you stood to pray, then wash your faces and arms to the elbows, and wipe your heads and wash your feet to the ankles. So from that verse, there are 4 pillars that Allah mentioned about wudu, which is washing the face. And we mentioned that washing the face means from side to side, from the starting of the ear and from the starting of the hair to the bottom of the chin. And we mentioned that washing, meaning that it's not wetting the face, but water needs to drip in order to be considered as washing. Number 2 is washing the hands, and we said that hands from the tip of the fingers until the elbow, included the elbow, and we need to look after between the fingers and under the nails. If the nails are long and had some dirt, then we need to remove that in order to remove any barrier between the water and the skin. Wiping the head, and we said that the scholar differed how much is the minimum for wiping the head. Imam Abu Hanifa said 1/4 according to the size of the hand. Imam Ahmad and Malik said the whole head, and Imam Shafi'i said at least even 1 hair to wipe. And then washing the feet, and we said that it's from the toes to the above the ankles, which are the bones from both sides of the feet, and these are included, and we should wash up to there. So these are the pillars that we spoke about. Other pillars that some scholars differed whether they should include them or not is number 1, intention. So the majority of the scholars, based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is deeds are by intentions, إنما الأعمال بالنيات, they said then the intention is a pillar. So all the scholars, the 3 scholars except Imam Abu Hanifa, they consider that we need to have intention before wudu. Number 2, which is the order. Order meaning 2 things. What is before what? And can I do right then left, or can I do left then right? So in that, Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i said that order is a must, it's an obligation. So we need to have the order of the wudu parts as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. So he did first the hands, and then the mouth and the nose, and then the face. So that order is from the Prophet ﷺ, so we need to follow that order. Apart from that, some scholars said that order is not obligation, and even you can, for example, wash your left arm before your right arm. So some scholars even allow that. But the Prophet ﷺ did not do it. Always he used to start with the right in everything that is good, except for things that are for the toilet or something that then he will start with the left. Time lag, meaning that can I wash, for example, my hands clean my mouth and nose, wash my face, and then the mobile rang. Go, pick the phone, speak, and then go back, and then shall I continue from where I stopped, or I need actually to start again? So Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad said there is no harm with the time lag, meaning that if you actually had something happened while you are having wudu, then you can go back and continue from wherever you stopped. Whereas the other scholars, they had a condition that the water doesn't dry. So for example, if you washed your hands, your arms, and then you had to cut your wudu and then come back, if they dried, then you need to start from the beginning. If they did not dry, then you can continue. But this is the time separation and rubbing. So for example, can I just pour the water on my arm, or I need to rub my arm? So the only one who said that it's an obligation to do the rubbing, and he considered it as a pillar, is Imam Malik. Whereas the rest of the scholars, they consider you just can pour the water on your arm, on your feet, and that will be enough. So you don't need to rub actually the organ when washing it for it to be considered. So these are 4 things that the scholars differed in regards whether to include them in pillars of the wudu or not. There are some conditions that are required for the wudu to be an obligation. So the wudu can be an obligation. We said that the wudu can be applied on 5 things. So the wudu can be obligation, can be sunnah, can be permissible, can be makruh, and can be haram. Correct? Wudu can be one of these 5. Can someone remind us when the wudu is an obligation? When the salah actually already time of salah is in and it's about to leave, the salah is about to finish and the other salah is coming, and I did not pray and I don't have wudu, then wudu is an obligation. I have to make wudu as soon as possible. When wudu can be a sunnah, who can remind us? Wudu for every salah, for every prayer, it's a sunnah. So I have wudu, but I came to the next salah and I have wudu, but I did wudu, and that's sunnah. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that except if I make it hard for my ummah, I will order them for wudu for each prayer. When can it be permissible? If you are not, for example, doing anything, but you just wanted to do wudu for the sake of doing wudu. Or when it can be makruh, if you are making wudu, you have wudu, you made wudu now to pray Isha. You did not pray Isha. Then after 1 hour, you did not lose your wudu. You did another wudu on the same time of the prayer. Then that wudu is makruh, because this is a waste of water. When wudu can be haram, who can remember? If it will harm you, or if you are using stolen water. So a water that doesn't belong to you, then that wudu is haram. Now coming to the obligation. So for wudu to be obligation on us, there are conditions. Number 1, which is mind. So the person is not crazy, is not unconscious, is not sleeping, or did not forget. These 4, they drop the obligation of wudu. Someone forgot that he needs to pray, Allah will not hold him accountable, so it's not obligation. So he has his mind. If someone lost his mind, that's it. There is no obligation on him to pray. So those who are actually having mental disability, who are not in their mind, they don't need to pray, because they don't know what they are doing. So the whole thing is about figuring what they are doing. Puberty needs to be realizing. So the kid that is going to have wudu needs to be realizing what they are doing. Islam, so wudu will not be acceptable from a non-Muslim. They need to be Muslims for wudu to be acceptable. Regardless, the scholars actually differed whether the non-Muslims are going to be held accountable for the branches of fiqh, meaning that the non-Muslim on the Day of Judgment, is he going to be questioned about not praying, or only because he is not a Muslim? So the scholars differed actually in that, and the majority say that they are going to be questioned for even the branches, even though they were not Muslims. And that's coming from the verse of the Quran in Surah Al-Muddathir, when they will be saying in the Day of Judgment in hellfire, they say, we were not praying, although they were not Muslims. So meaning that they are going to be questioned about even the branches of Islam. Ability to use the clean water. Number one, can find the water. Number two, does not harm him. So if any of these is broken, cannot find the water, then wudu is not obligation. Or if he uses the water, it will harm him, then it's not an obligation to do wudu. He can do tayammum, or we can discuss this later. Obligation when there is a hadath. Hadath meaning pass wind, went to the toilet, then it's an obligation for prayer. If I want to pray, if I want to read Quran, it becomes an obligation to have wudu. If it is not in the time of period for the women, or after delivering, which we call in Islam as nafas. So the period of time after the woman delivers a baby, where she will see the blood for around 40 days, is called nafas. So during that time, or during the period, it's not an obligation. If the woman is not in that period, that time, then it's an obligation. Short time for prayer, time to exit. Like now, for example, it's Maghrib time. Now, I did not pray Maghrib, for example, and it was 10 minutes for Isha to come. Then it's a short time, and then I will lose my prayer. Then it will become an obligation for me to make wudu fast and to pray fast. Okay? So that's what are the conditions for wudu to be an obligation. So some correctness conditions. So some conditions in the wudu for our wudu to be correct. Number one, covering the skin of the organ with clean water. So we need to have, number one, clean water and covers the skin. So if I'm washing my arm, I need to cover the skin of my arm. Someone painting and had paints on his arm, he needs to remove that paint, because that's going to be a barrier between his arm and for his skin and the water. And it needs to be a clean water, which we spoke about before, what type of water we can use to make wudu. So when it comes to lots of cases, for example, when the women, they have the nail polish, it's actually preventing the water from coming to the nail, so they need to remove them. And we said that it's except for some, for example, like the henna will give the color for the nails, but it will not prevent the water from coming. So this is allowed to have them instead of the... And as if someone told me that recently they have generated this new type of, as well, finger polish, nail polish, that actually is like the henna, but it will give colors. So it's going to be not preventing the water from coming to the nails. Removing what prevents water from reaching the organ. As we said, if we have anything on the... Sometimes you will have a band-aid, so you put band-aid on yourself, and then you want to make wudu. Well, that part under the band-aid actually was not covered with water. So are we going to consider it as Jabeerah, as we are going to speak today, or we are going to remove it and then make wudu to make sure that every part of the organ is covered by water? Lots of times we'll have band-aids for small wounds or something. Can we make wudu over them? Well, it needs to be discussed. Stopping all what contradicts the wudu. So stop, for example, when the blood during the period for the women stops, then ghusl will apply, and then she can do wudu after that if she needs. entering the prayer time for tayammum. So for tayammum, if the time entered and I don't have water, and I decided actually I'm far, and I actually have all the conditions to do tayammum, then the moment the time enters, I can do tayammum. And for those as well who don't control their urine, I'm not sure what you call them, Dr. Azmi. Those who have continuous urine, uncontrolled. Incontinent. So those people actually, they just make wudu at the time of the prayer and pray, regardless. They don't need to do anything because they don't control themselves. For the sunnahs of wudu, the scholars differed. Imam Abu Hanifa listed 18 sunnahs, whereas Imam Malik 8 sunnahs, Imam Shafi'i 30 sunnahs, and Imam Ahmad 20 sunnahs. And every one of them was relying on a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. What we will do is we will remove all the hadith that were weak and then list the sunnahs that they all agreed upon based on the authentic hadith. Sunnah 4, we said the intention was a pillar for all the scholars except Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa considered it as sunnah. Washing the 3 times before starting wudu, hands to wrist. So the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ, according to the hadith, that he started wudu, the first thing that he did is he put some water on his left hand and then he washed his hand 3 times. So this is washing the hand from the tip to the wrist, is the first sunnah that is in the hadith, how the Prophet ﷺ used to make the wudu. Tasmiyah at the beginning, saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is a sunnah. Rinse of mouth and nose and throwing out the water, it's sunnah to extend except for fasting. So the Prophet ﷺ, he took water, and there are different opinions whether to take water, do the mouth first 3 times, mouth clean, and then spit the water out, and then do the nose, take a breath, and then with your left hand take the water out, or what the scholars they preferred is to take the water and to put in the mouth and leave some in the hand and put to the nose and take a breath to take the water inside, and then with the right hand to take the water, the leftover, out. So this is how the sunnah is, but to extend the washing of the mouth and washing of the nose, only not for the fasting. So the fasting should not extend actually washing, because you will see some people taking to wash the mouth and then they reach to the bottom of their mouth and start gargling. Is it gargling? So that thing is good, but if you are fasting, you cannot do that. You should not do that. And even some people, they take the water in their nose way back in their nose. That's okay, but if fasting, you cannot do that, because that water will enter inside. Sewak, the Prophet ﷺ said, except if I make it hard for my nation, I will order them for Sewak in every wudu, in one of the narrations, or with every wudu. So the scholars said, after doing the wudu, to do the Sewak. And we are going to speak about the Sewak. So that's a sunnah. Takhleel for beard and fingers and toes. So for whoever has a thick beard, to put the fingers under the beard, or fingers, so between the fingers, to make sure that the water is coming between the fingers, and toes of the feet. So with the toes of the feet, the best way to do it is to have with not the right hand but the left hand, small finger, and do the what we call takhleel, which is for the toes between the fingers. Start from the right and finish to the left. So that's how we clean our toes. Doing the washing 3 times, the first time in everything of the pillars, the 4 pillars, is a pillar. So to wash the face first time is a pillar. Second time and third time is a sunnah. Okay? Wiping the whole head, the Prophet ﷺ in the authentic hadith, he took water and then put his hands, both hands on the head, went all back and went all front. So that's a sunnah. But what is the obligation from wiping the head? As we said, it is a matter of difference, but whatever can be called wiping is considered wiping. So if we call this wiping, so this is wiping, and that's at least with the size of the hand on the head. Wiping the ears inside and outside, they were not mentioned. The Prophet ﷺ in the authentic hadith, and he took water and wiped his ears from the outside and from the inside, and his fingers followed the actual traces inside the ear. Starting from right to left, starting from tip of the fingers to the or toes, forehead, all of these are sunnah. So if I want to wash the hands or the arms, the pillar is to wash the arms in the Quran. But has it mentioned to wash the right before the left? It did not mention. That's why the scholars have said it is sunnah. Even though it is sunnah, but the Prophet ﷺ was never seen doing the left before the right. He was always seen doing the right before the left. Order between whatever we are doing, so the face before the arms, before the head, before the feet, that's order, and not leaving time and rubbing, all of these are sunnah of wudu. So all of these, when we are doing them, we are taking reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. Let's speak about some etiquettes, which are extra things, which are the Prophet ﷺ did once or twice, but did not do on continuous basis. What to do? First, face the Qibla. If I'm doing wudu outside, then I will have the opportunity to face the Qibla. This is etiquette of wudu, and I will take some reward for that. Sitting at higher place than the water, because if I'm sitting and the water is higher than me, might splash on the ground, splash on me. But if I am at higher place than the water, then the water will drip and nothing will come back to me. So it's an etiquette. Not speaking normal talks while doing wudu. So I'm doing wudu, I'm not discussing issues with someone. That's an etiquette of the wudu. Not to seek help while doing it, except if there is a need. Not to say to someone, please pour some water on me. If you have a hand and your hand has no problem, you should not ask anyone to pour water on you. You just use your hands. The Prophet ﷺ in the hadith did not allow anyone to pour water on him. But he used to, someone came to pour water on him and he said, no. And he poured water on himself. He took the water and he started doing the wudu. So that's why it's an etiquette not to seek help. Moving the large ring. So if you are wearing a ring while you are doing a wudu, to move it to make sure that the water is coming underneath. Having the rinse of mouth in right hand while nose with left is as well an etiquette. Meaning that I am with the mouth, I'm taking the water with the right hand. With the nose, I'm taking the water with the left hand. So if you want to make each one on separate occasions, so you want to finish the mouth first, you finish the mouth with the right hand. If you want to do the nose alone, then you do with the left hand. Wudu before time enter, it's an etiquette. So before the time enters long time, then you have your wudu. Entering the small finger into the ear. So after doing the ears, you take water with the small finger and then you enter to clean inside. If there is wax or something, you are cleaning the whole ear. That's etiquette as well. Wiping the neck with the back of the hands. And this is something we see. We see some people when they are doing wudu, after they finish their ear, they do like this on the neck. Of course, that's only the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa. And that's only for those who follow the Hanafi madhab, and they are depending on a hadith, and that hadith is actually weak. So it's not an authentic hadith. That's why the majority of the ummah, they disagree with wiping the neck. No, even Imam Nawawi consider it as a bid'ah, because there is no evidence that wiping the neck is from wudu. So we should not actually do that. Increasing the ghurra, and tahjeel ghurra is the forehead. So when I'm washing my face, to increase my washing the face to reach the actual hair, that's called ghurra. And tahjeel, when I am washing my arms, I increase until higher. When I'm washing my feet, I am increasing to the middle part of my leg. That's called ghurra and tahjeel. It's like the horse. You know how the horse has a beautiful forehead hair with a different color, and then they will have beautiful color for their feet. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that I will know you, my nation, in the day of judgment when you come to me from the traces of wudu. You will come to me with ghurra, so the signs of wudu on your forehead hair, and muhajjalin, from the signs of wudu when we are washing our feet. So it's good to have them high. Not using towels, so it's an etiquette not actually to dry our organs if we can, if we are able to do that. And that's only the opinion of Imam Ahmad and Imam Abu Hanifa. Not shaking the organs hard to get rid of the water. So after you wash your hands, you do like this to get rid of the water. That's not an etiquette. We should not do that. Reducing the amount of water used. The Prophet ﷺ came to one of the companions. He was doing wudu, and he said, "What is this waste?" So he said to the Prophet ﷺ, "Is there a waste in water, O Messenger of Allah?" He said, "Yes. Even if you were on a running river, you should not waste the water." So we should not waste the water. And putting the water on the right, that's an etiquette. So take the water from the right hand side, not from the left hand side. And ash-shahadatayn, at the end, you say, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." What can I do which is not good? It's makrouh for wudu. Number one, wasting water. So if I'm wasting water, that is makrouh. But if the water is waqf, then it's haram to waste the water. Who can tell me where is the water waqf? Where?
In the Kaaba?
No. In every masjid. Because the masjid is waqf. Correct or not? It's not an ownership of someone. It's a house of Allah Azza wa Jal. And actually everything inside the masjid is a waqf. That's why even you cannot take a stone from the masjid and throw it outside the masjid. Because that's everything belongs to the masjid, belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal. That's the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the water inside is a waqf. So I cannot waste water inside the masjid. It's haram. But inside my house, I'm wasting water. It's makruh. Okay? Smacking the face with water. So bringing the water and just smacking the face, that's makruh. We should not do that. Normal talking, as we said. Seeking help from others, as we said. Wudu in an impure location. So you are coming to a location, to somewhere where actually there are some residuals of animal poops, and you are trying to make wudu, that's makruh, because this is most likely you will get dirty from that. Wiping the neck, as we said, Imam Nawawi said it is bid'ah to wipe the neck, because there is no evidence that says that the Prophet ﷺ did that. Washing the nose and the mouth, exaggerating it for the one who is fasting, that's makruh. leaving a sunnah from the ones that we said is makruh, using hot water or water put in a sunny area. So if we have a pot of water that was left in the sun, that water, it might actually harm. So if it is harming, then we should not use that water. It is makruh. Now, what are the things that invalidate wudu? So I have wudu. When does my wudu invalidate? Number one, which everybody knows, anything that exits from one of the two normal exits of the body, which are the urine or the poop exits. Prophet ﷺ said, no wudu except with sound or smell. What does it mean? Sometimes you feel you passed wind, but you are not sure. The Prophet ﷺ said, there is no wudu except from smell or sound. So you need to make sure that actually you passed wind in order to make wudu. Otherwise your wudu is valid. Sometimes this happens during the prayer and you don't know, did I lose my wudu or I did not lose my wudu? That's from shaitan games doing to us while we are praying. So anything exits, urine or poop, or from the two exits, or wind, any new exit that is above the stomach. So sometimes we have people who go into surgery, they have some kidney issues, and there is an exit, they put the exit from the top. That urine coming out does not break their wudu. The wudu is not broken, because that's continuously coming out. But if the exit is below the stomach and the normal exits are blocked, then this is the normal exit for him. Then anything coming out will break the wudu. Did you get this point? So if someone is having his normal exits for urine and poop are normal, and having some pipes with the urine coming out from an exit above the stomach, that doesn't break the wudu. But if it is below and the normal exits are closed, then that breaks the wudu. Okay? Delivery, so that's number one, which is anything that exits from the two normal exits of the body. Number two, delivery without seeing the blood. So that's a rare case. That's a woman delivers a baby and doesn't see the blood after. It's a rare case. Blood and pus from wounds does not break wudu. And we are going to come to speak about the blood in more details. So does the blood actually break the wudu? Most likely, the majority of the scholars, it doesn't break wudu. Pus, I have an ulcer, I broke it, I had pus. Does it break my wudu? It doesn't break the wudu. You need just to wash it because it's a najasa. We said that these are najasa. Vomit. Some scholars, they say that vomit actually breaks the wudu. Well, there is no authentic evidence for yes or no. But the scholars said that the large amount where the vomit actually fills the mouth, that should consider as breaking the wudu. So a large amount of vomit, it was considered by the majority of the scholars as breaking wudu. So it's safe to stay in the safe side and stay away from the differences and just make wudu from the vomit, especially if it is a big amount during, for example, someone is sick or something. So number one, whatever exits from the both exits of the body, normal exits. Number two, if the person does not see blood, then the delivery will invalidate the wudu. Number three, vomit, the big amount. Number four is brain unconsciousness. So someone due to the drugs, he felt not focusing, meaning that he lost control of his body. So the whole concept of all of this is that the brain becomes unconscious, meaning that doesn't know what happened. He might have passed some. We have seen a lot of cases where people who are drunk actually, they just urinate on themselves. They don't feel. So when the brain goes unconscious, even the person is awake, due to drugs, due to alcohol, or someone pass out, so fell unconscious, and someone lost his mind, or seizure. What's a seizure? Epilepsy. And sleep. All of these will break the wudu. And we will speak about sleeping. So the reasons is that the person will not realize whether he passed something or not. The moment the person does not know whether he still have his wudu or not, because he felt or he lost control of his body, then that moment he lost his wudu. I will give you a normal example. Someone will be sitting in the Friday khutbah, and then sitting and carrying his knees with his hand, and then he is just sleeping. The moment the hands do this, what happened to his brain? Lost. That moment he lost his wudu, because he lost control on his body. So, sleeping, the scholars spoke about what sleeping can be considered as invalidating wudu and what sleeping cannot. Because there is a hadith that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to wait after Maghrib for Isha in the masjid, and they will be sleeping, and when the Isha comes, they will stand and pray without wudu. So the scholars, they said, and this is an authentic hadith, this is the only authentic hadith about it. The scholars, they said, if the person who is sleeping is sitting and his bottom is fit to the ground, meaning that there is no place or there is no opportunity for the wind to leave the body without the person is feeling, then that is sleeping that was meant for the companions. That's what they used to do, so they don't actually break their wudu. So sitting down in a way that the bottom of the body is sticking to the ground, so there is no exit for anything, that's when the sleeping is not going to break the wudu. Slight sleep, where the person is still feeling those around him, that's a sleeping that doesn't break the wudu. So long as the person is in control of his body, even though he just closed his eyes or something, but he's in control of his body, that doesn't break the wudu. Now, coming to another point, which is touching the opposite gender. Well, in general, normal touching doesn't break the wudu. Okay? Touching with desire invalidates the wudu even with the wife. Okay? So, if you are walking in the street and your hand just touched a random woman, you don't know, you looked, oh, someone touched me. Okay? It was a woman. It was without desire. It was just normal touching, unintentionally. Some scholars, they said it breaks the wudu, but the majority said normal touching without desire, without intention, that is normal, should not break the wudu. But touching with desire will invalidate the wudu even if it is a wife. Okay? Mouth kiss between the husband and the wife invalidates the wudu. Normal kiss, the Prophet ﷺ used to kiss the cheek of the Aisha radiallahu anha and go to pray. So the normal kiss does not move the desire, but the other type is meant to move the desire. So the whole concept here is so long as the desire does not move, so the wudu does not break. So when the desire moves, the wudu will be broken. Touching the private parts, front or back, invalidates the wudu, because the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever touches his private part, let him make wudu. So, and the touching criteria should be with the forehand and with the area that you usually touch. But touching with the back does not invalidate. So touching with the forehand is the one that invalidates. Qahqaha, we spoke about it last time, to say qahqaha by laughing. Only Imam Abu Hanifa says that this invalidates the wudu, but the scholars, the majority of the scholars that said no, laughing, high laughing does not invalidate the wudu. We have two types of laughing. We have in the prayer, we might doing you don't want to laugh loudly. That invalidates the prayer because you cannot do that. And of course the loud laughing invalidates the prayer as well. Eating camel meat, that's another thing that Imam Ahmad says that eating camel meat invalidates the wudu. There was an incident that the Prophet ﷺ was with the companions and they were cooking, and then the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to make wudu after eating that meat. But at the end of his life, the Prophet ﷺ was seen eating cooked meat, because the scholars said, do we need to make wudu from eating what the fire actually was used to cook for the meat? For that incident that the Prophet ﷺ ordered the companions. But in another authentic hadith, before his death, he actually ate from a meat that has been cooked on fire and he did not make wudu. That's why they said this last hadith actually covers the first hadith, and you should not make wudu from eating the camel meat or any other meat. Washing dead body, you should not make wudu from washing dead body, except Imam Ahmad said that it is invalidating. Suspecting wudu and hadath. Sometimes you feel, do I have wudu or I lost my wudu? What do we do in this case? We go back, when was the last time that I am sure what happened to me? Last time I am sure I had wudu, but I don't remember I lost my wudu or not. The rule is I have wudu. Last time I remember going to the toilet, but I don't remember I made wudu or not. The rule is I don't have wudu. So how do we know? We build on the sureness. I am sure that I have wudu. I don't remember if I broke it or not. Then I have wudu. I'm sure I don't have wudu. I don't remember if I made wudu or not. Then I did not make wudu. Okay? So I will build always on what I am 100% sure of. What requires ghusl? Of course, invalidates wudu, like intercourse or anything else like wet dreams or period, all require as well. Of course, period will require ghusl. What is haram without wudu? Haram are three things without wudu. To pray, as the Prophet ﷺ said, no pray for whoever doesn't have wudu. So any wudu, any prayer without wudu is not valid. And it's haram. And even Imam Abu Hanifa said whoever prays without wudu, knowing that he does not have wudu, intentionally that he is praying without wudu, that's a question mark about his Islam. So Imam Hanifa was tough with that, to an extent that he said, if someone intentionally prays without wudu, knowing he does not have wudu, he might exit Islam, because he has done something with the obligatory, with the pillars of Islam. Tawaf, the Prophet ﷺ said, Tawaf is salah. So the scholars said, if Tawaf is salah, salah requires wudu, then Tawaf requires wudu. But sa'i between Safa and Marwa does not require wudu. Touching Quran, even touching a verse of the Quran, and we spoke about this last time, you cannot touch the Quran without wudu. The four scholars agreed that touching the Quran is not allowed without wudu. And if you are reading, you can read Quran without wudu. That's normal. You can read the Quran, even for some scholars, you can read Quran for the woman during her period time, but she should not touch the words of the Quran. So you can just play with the mobile and just swap the pages underneath the verses in themselves or underneath the words, but don't touch the actual words of the Quran. Comes to Sewak, Sewak is Sunnah, and it's called Sunnah Al-Fitrah. Sunnah of Fitrah, do we know what's the meaning of Fitrah? The nature of creation that Allah Azza wa Jal created us on. So Allah created us with some natural things. Like created us to clip our nails when they grow. That's a nature. That's called Sunnatul Fitrah. So that's by our creation that we realize that we need to clip our nails or cut our nails, fingernails. Okay? Sunan, it's from Sunan Al-Fitrah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Sewak is cleaning the mouth and satisfying the Lord. It's Sunnah as wudu at wudu, as Imam Abu Hanifa mentions, and at pray, as Imam Ahmad and Shafi'i, because there are two narrations for the hadith. Except if I make it hard for my ummah, I will order them for Sewak after or at each salah, at each prayer. And in the another narration, I will order them with Sewak at each wudu. So after doing the wudu, doing that. The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he used to enter his house, he used to start with the Sewak. Who can tell me why did he used to do that? So his breath will be good for his wife. Look how the etiquette was beautiful from the Prophet ﷺ. He doesn't want his wife to smell anything bad from him. So he was always caring about his smell, his mouth, and all of this. There is an opinion whether I can use Sewak while I'm fasting or not. And that opinion is coming from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is an authentic hadith, that the smell of the mouth of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the musk. We know that when we are fasting, after some period of time, because of the emptiness of the stomach, the mouth will become smelling some smells. The Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, the smell of the mouth of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the musk. But the majority said that it is allowed to do Sewak while fasting during the whole day. So you can do Sewak at any time, because Rabi'ah said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ using Sewak uncounted times while he was fasting. So that's during the morning, during the afternoon. The other scholars, they say just Sewak until Dhuhr time. After Dhuhr time, it's makrouh to use Sewak. Nowadays we have the toothbrush. And we cannot get Sewak actually to Australia. Can we get Sewak to Australia? Yes. I don't. Is it? They allow? Because it's a plant remnant.
Correct, but if it's sealed?
If it's sealed, they will allow it? Yeah. Okay. That's a new information. But the toothbrush is actually working for the Sewak. At their time, they did not used to have toothbrush and toothpaste, but now we have toothbrush and toothpaste. So we treat it like what we treat the Sewak. So every time we do the toothbrushing, that's, as the Prophet ﷺ said, cleaning of the mouth and satisfying of the Lord. So we take reward for brushing our teeth. How to brush the teeth? Of course, brushing the teeth, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to do Sewak, which is a stick of plant. He used to do Sewak from right to left, like this. Okay? So that's why the sunnah is to brush the teeth like this. And it's makrouh to do like this with the Sewak. Why? Because you will affect your gum. And even the doctors, when they say when you want to brush your teeth, you don't push up, but you take it in a way that you don't affect your gum. But the Prophet ﷺ from the beginning, he used to do like this, so he doesn't affect the gum. And he used to brush the tongue as well. But brushing the tongue will be from the tip of the tongue to the back. That's how the Prophet ﷺ used to brush. Coming to Sunan Al-Fitrah, we said Sunan Al-Fitrah, which are the Sunan, or the things that the people by nature will do. There are two main ahadith that spoke about Sunan Al-Fitrah. Both of them are in Bukhari and Muslim. The first hadith says, 5 are from the natural practices, which are Sunan Al-Fitrah. circumcision, shaving the public hair, cutting the mustache short, clipping the nails, and plucking the armpit hairs in Bukhari and Muslim. In another hadith, 10 are from natural practices: clipping the mustache for the men, letting the beard grow, and that's when the scholars said, okay, what about Sunan Al-Fitrah? Are they obligated? They are not. So, actually, Sunan Al-Fitrah, this hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, dropped growing the beard from the obligation to actually Sunnah and Sunnah Mu'akkada because of this hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. That's why actually growing the beard, it's not an obligation according to the majority of the scholars, although there are hadith that say lengthen the beard, trim your mustache, and there is a hadith coming in an order way. But because of this hadith that put the beard in Sunan Al-Fitrah, the scholars said then the beard is actually something that they differed on. Imam Ahmad speaks that it's an obligation. The other scholars, they see it as Sunnah Mu'akkada or Sunnah. So the beard, at least what we can call a beard, then you are actually following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Using the toothstick, so brushing the teeth, is from the Sunnah. Cleaning by putting water in the nose, so taking the water in the nose while during wudu is from Sunan Al-Fitrah. Clipping the nails, that's by nature. Washing the knuckles and finger joints, these ones are from Sunan Al-Fitrah. Plucking the hair under the armpit is from Sunan Al-Fitrah. Shaving the public hairs is from Sunan Al-Fitrah. The Prophet ﷺ in some narrations prohibited this to be more than 40 days, to be left without shaving. Using water to clean one's private part after urination is from Sunan Al-Fitrah. The narrator said, I have forgotten the 10th unless it is rinsing the mouth. So these are the Sunan of Al-Fitrah, the 10 Sunan of Al-Fitrah that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to us. Some other Sunan Al-Fitrah, perfume is from Sunan Al-Fitrah. So it's a good thing to do. Except for women, they need to have the perfume only at home. So their perfume at home. They should not go out with perfume where people can smell them. They can still use the deodorant which prevents the body smell or the odor smell, but that deodorant should be odorless, meaning that nobody can smell them, but that will prevent the body smell from appearing. Eyeliner. The Prophet ﷺ used to put eyeliner every night 3 times in each eye. But nowadays the eyeliner is only for women. If you put eyeliner and go in the street, what will happen? What will people speak about you? They will question you nowadays, especially with the current situation. Correct, Abdullah? Subhanallah, although it's sunnah to put eyeliner for the men. Have you tried it before? It's makrouh walking with one shoe and wearing the shoes standing. So walking with only one shoe, it's makrouh, especially if it's intentionally. But if it's just you put on one shoe and you're going to put on the other shoe, then that's fine. But it's to walk just intentionally for long distance with one shoe, it is makrouh. It is makrouh wearing the shoes while standing, because if you are standing and just wanting to wear the shoes, you might be falling and harming yourself. So it is makrouh. Look how Islam is dealing. The scholars did not leave for us anything. Islam did not leave for us anything except actually tackle the points. Makrouh, lengthening the clothes for men out of show off. Some people just lengthen the clothes, especially at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, because people did not used to have money to buy proper clothes or length clothes. So whoever used to have more money, he used to lengthen his clothes. So out of show off, it is makrouh. It is Sunnah Al-Fitrah to brush the hair. And Aisha used to brush the hair of the Prophet ﷺ. It is makrouh to leave hair and nails over 40 days without shaving and cutting. It is makruh to do qazi'. Qazi' is to shave part of the head and leave the other part. Meaning that what we see nowadays from new style is that people, they shave this part and leave that part. That's qazi'. This is makruh and should not be done. It is makruh plucking the gray hair, whether it's from the beard or from the head. It is makruh because the Prophet ﷺ said it is a light in the day of judgment. For every gray hair the person will have. But for the women, they should actually dye their hair when they start having gray hair, especially to beautify themselves for their husbands. And the husbands actually, it is sunnah to dye the hair. And the father of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq came to the Prophet ﷺ and it was full white hair. And the Prophet ﷺ told him, change it, but stay away from black. So that's why the scholars said it's makruh to dye the hair with black. But if it is really, really white, it should not stay white. You dye it with any color, brownish or dark or brownish black or something like this, but not pure black. Except the scholars said that during the war, you can have it black. Why? In order to show that you are young and strong and so on. It is haram to do nams. What is nams? In the Sahihain, Bukhari and Muslim, it is narrated that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, the Prophet ﷺ said, may Allah curse the women who do tattoos and those whom tattoos are done for, those who pluck their eyebrows, and those who file their teeth for the purpose of beautification and alter the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. So it is makruh to pluck the eyebrows, to do tattoos, to grind the teeth in order to change the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is sunnah to cover the pots in the night. So if you are in the kitchen, you have some pots, it is sunnah to cover them even with anything. It is sunnah to close the door and turn off the light in the night and check the bed before sleeping. So before you go to sleeping, you just grab the towel and just check it if there is anything. It is sunnah. Imagine how the Islam is actually giving you 24/7 what you need to do. It is sunnah to sleep on the right side and put your right hand under your face. Not to sleep on a roof without borders. That's not allowed. That's makruh. Not to sleep on the back or on the face. The Prophet ﷺ once came to someone who was sleeping on his tummy and he said, this is the sleep of the people of hell. Not to sleep alone. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited loneliness and to sleep alone. Imagine. And that's causing what? Lots of times we see people, when they are sleeping alone, where they are alone, they have this, this is new disease that, well, can someone help me? The one who just likes to stay alone. What? Tawahhud, سموه. Just who wants to stay alone, he doesn't want to interact with people or... Anyway, all of these are just mental diseases that happen to people. How the Islam picked it. So the Prophet ﷺ prohibited the person to be alone and prohibited for him to sleep alone. He should not, because we have lots of consequences of sleeping alone. If something happened to you, who is going to help you? Nobody.
Question.
Yeah.
What about kids?
Kids sleeping alone, they are inside the house.
Yeah, so...
Alone meaning you are alone in the house.
Okay.
Okay? It is makruh to sit or sleep between the sun and the shade. So you have a shade for a tree and you are coming at the edge of that shade and sitting there. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, that's the place where shaitan is. It is makruh to sit at the area between the sun and the shade. Speaking about the khuf, you know the khuf? That's another topic. So the khuf is used to be used a lot, and the Prophet ﷺ, once he was making wudu, and one of the companions was with him, and he was wearing like a socks, but it's from leather. So the companion said, I went down to his feet to take them off. The Prophet ﷺ said, don't take them off, I put them on tahara. So meaning that when he was with full wudu, he put them on. So that khuf, that's the leather one. So instead of washing the feet after that, the Prophet ﷺ just wiped on the khuf. So how does it happen? It's wiping a wet hand on a specific khuf, on a specific location, and a specific time. So khuf is what covers the ankle or more from leather or any other material. So it needs to cover the whole foot up to the two bones at the side of the ankle, yeah, and they need to be above. You cannot have it by the ankle. It needs to be above the ankle. The wiping, is it the top of the foot or the bottom of the foot? It's only the top, but you wipe from the toes to the bottom of the toes. If you are living in your country, you can wipe for 24 hours from the time you lost wudu. How many times you can pray maximum? Can someone say, if you are living, for example, we are settling in Adelaide, how many times maximum I can pray wiping on the khuf?
5 times.
5 times? So again, when do you start counting? From the time, like for example, I made wudu, and then after dhuhr, I lost my wudu. But I already wore them when I was in full wudu. So I wore the khuf. So I lost my wudu midway between dhuhr and asr. So the moment I lost my wudu, that's the time I will count 24 hours. That's when I can wipe on the khuf. Okay. So how many prayers maximum I can pray? Anyone? 6. That's the maximum I can pray. Why? Imagine, halfway after dhuhr, I did not pray dhuhr. I was wearing the khuf, and then I lost my wudu. Okay? Then I made wudu, wiped on the khuf, and prayed dhuhr. I can pray asr, maghrib, isha, fajr. I come to dhuhr time, I still have time because the time I started was midway. So I can actually pray dhuhr again for the next day. So the maximum I can do is 6 prayers. And for the traveler, it's 3 days and their nights. So meaning how many prayers I can do for the traveler? Maximum? 16. Excellent. 16. Wiping using left hand and fingers from toes up. So either you put, imagine this is the foot, your fingers like this, and then wipe on the khuf, or like this by side. They are both a hadith that were narrated from the Prophet ﷺ. In order to wipe on the khuf, I have to wear them while I am on wudu. So I cannot wear them without wudu and then wipe on them. I have to wear them while I'm on wudu, then I lose my wudu, then I wipe on them. The khuf is clean and covering the area of the wudu up to the ankle. Can be used for walking on it. Some differed in some conditions. They said there should not be holes inside the khuf where the actual foot can be seen. Only Imam Malik said it needs to be from leather. The others, they said, can be any material. Coming to wiping on the socks and the shoes. Sometimes we'll have like the thick socks, which are the cotton socks. Nowadays, the majority of the scholars, they said, you can actually wipe on them because they are thick enough. And actually you can walk with them. You can walk in the house, you can walk some distances with them and nothing will happen because they are thick. But not the very thin, which is if you walk on them, they will just tear out. So you can use actually the thick socks, and for the women, they have sometimes some thick socks. You can actually, so long as they are above the ankle, so you can wipe on them. And even if you have a sport shoes or a shoes like Sister Relia above the ankle, you can wipe on the shoes. So no problems with wiping on the shoes, so long as the shoes is above the ankle. Okay? So the timing, we spoke about the timing. What invalidates wiping on the khuf? If I broke my wudu, then I need to wipe on the khuf again when I do the wudu. If someone enters the janaba status, that's it. He needs to take it off for ghusl. If you took off the khuf, it invalidates. You need to do wudu, or you need to do wudu. If the foot appeared from a hole, there was a hole in the khuf and appeared your foot, then you need to take it off and do wudu. If the water actually covered, like for example, if you are using to wipe on the socks and then your socks became all wet, that will invalidate. You cannot continue wiping on the socks if they covered with water. When the time finishes, you cannot wipe on the khuf anymore. I will okay, last two slides. Like if my wudu broke, then the wiping of the khuf already broke, so I need to make wudu again and wipe again. So I already wiped on my khuf for dhuhr. Then I broke my wudu at asr, so the wiping already broke. So I need to make wudu, and when I come to my legs or feet, I need to wipe again. So the last thing, wiping on the turban. The Prophet ﷺ wiped on the turban. Can I wipe on the headscarf? The answer is no. You cannot wipe on the headscarf. It needs to be not stolen. It has, Imam Ahmad was the only one who said it is sunnah to wipe on the turban. But the Prophet ﷺ was seen wiping on the turban alone, wiping on the head alone, wiping on the turban, and then bringing his hand under the turban to wipe. That's why Imam Ahmad was the only one who stick to allowing wiping on the turban, but he said you need to wipe the whole turban for those. And that turban needs to have a sort of an edge that goes under the chin. And it needs to be covering the whole head and more than the hair, so you don't have any place to wipe. So it's covering everything. And it's only for males. There is no wiping on the turban for the females. Can we wipe on the beanie? No, of course we cannot. Then the last thing, that sometimes we'll have our arm broken and we have plaster. And the plaster is in the place where we have wudu. So what to do? When you come to that part, you just wipe the whole part with water once. And that's it. And then continue. So if the left arm was the one that was in plaster, then you wipe the right arm 3 times. When you come to the left arm, you just wipe on it 1 time completely, and then go to the next organ. Sometimes you have a band. You have a wound and you have a band. Then you wipe on that. So, for example, I had the band for part of my hand. The other part is still there. So I wash the part that is apparent and I wipe on the part that is covered. Sometimes it's just a small wound and a band-aid. You need to remove it. and just wash the part. What else? What else we can have? We can have plaster, we can have bands, we can have anything else? Like sometimes wounds in the head, you don't need to remove it, especially if the doctor said you don't get the water to there. So even if you need to have ghusl or shower, you just wash everything and just wipe on that part, and that will be sufficient. Okay? We stop here and we see if we had, from last time, we had a question which is about wearing the dresses that have Arabic words written on them. Can we wear them or not? Especially sometimes they will have the word of Allah Azza wa Jal and so on. So the scholars said, if that is going to be humiliated, then it's not allowed. But so long as it is respected, then there is no harm. If you are going to play with them, sweat, and the sweat will come to them, that's not good. But if you are wearing it just normally, without any humiliation for that, for the words, then it should be okay to wear something that is written on it. Is it mandatory to not cut nails and hair till the sacrifice is done? And this is applied for Adha. Well, it's not mandatory. They say that some scholars they say it's Sunnah, although there is not authentic narration that it is Sunnah, but some scholars still, they have some ahadith that they rely on to say, to imitate what the Hujjaj do in Mecca. They don't cut their fingernails or their hair while they are in the state of Ihram. So they said it is Sunnah not to cut, Sunnah not obligation, not to cut until you have your own udhiyah. Okay? So that's something that, as I said, it's a difference in opinion, but you can cut your fingernails, you can cut your hair, it's okay, and you will not have any bad deeds, or it's not makrouh, or it's not anything. It's the only difference whether you will get reward if you don't, or you will not get reward, and that's where the scholars differed, and the hadith are not supportive of it is sunnah not to do that. About paint and wudu, what about if the paint is dry on the skin? How do you make wudu? That paint needs to be removed. Any barrier from the skin needs to be removed. So if the paint is dry, you can find a way to remove the paint, so long as there is no barrier between the skin and the water. If it is some small dots here and there, it's okay. But not a big batch of paint on the arm where actually it's preventing water. But some small tiny dots here and there, it's okay. The scholars, they said, no problems with that. What if you scratch your private part skin on skin with your hand? Does that break your wudu? Yes, it does break your wudu. How about when shopkeepers give back money and accidentally touch your hand? Would that break your wudu? Is there a desire in that? It was by mistake? Then it should not break the wudu. Try your best not to have that. If the shopkeeper is giving you money, try to make it in a way that you will show that I don't want you to touch my hand. So they will put the money, and try your best. But if any touch happened, like without your intention, without you feeling it, there is no desire. The whole concept is that the desire will move some fluids in the body and will cause the body to actually get these fluids out, and the wudu will break. So the whole thing coming around the desire. Can wipe over shoes? Yes, so long as the shoes is above the ankle. And you put on the shoes when you had wudu. You cannot wipe if not. Or does it have to be over your socks? You can do on both. You can have on socks, you can have on shoes, so long as it's above the ankle and you can walk on them. Is there an opinion to wipe over khuf with holes? Yes, there is. There is an opinion that allows actually that you can wipe even if there are some holes. Try to stay safe and not to. Is it makruh to stay alone? Yes, we said that. What about people who live in a country with themselves alone in accommodation? If they don't end up with mental problems, then that is okay. If they are always with the Quran, with Allah Azza wa Jal, then that is okay. But if they start feeling all of these whispers, all of these thoughts coming to their heads, because then that's makruh. You should leave, or you should get someone to live with you. That's it. All right. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.